Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the MagneZONE trainers of all types, drafters of all disciplines. I'm here. I'm Cossack11. And Clutch is also here.
Hi.
And Sam is also here eating his mini wheats.
We have to pay tribute to Adam. Thank you, Adam, for suggesting I buy frosted mini wheats.
Frosted mini wheats are great. I actually used to eat those plain when I was a kid, like no milk or anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
I am eating too many bagels. I'll just put that out there.
Too many bagels is a good way to eat.
Yeah. So, and that was our general topic. So we're gonna be
moving on.
Our general topic today is gonna be we're gonna finish out our team archetypes with we're gonna just basically cover the remainder of weather. So that's gonna be sand, hail, and sun. We talked about hail and sun a little bit in the last weather. That was, what episode was that? Like, hold on. Let me check.
Is that like 2 episodes ago? 3?
That was like 3 or 4. I guess it depends on if you count the lost episode. That was streamed. That was streamed.
Streamed, and then there's the lost episode where we recorded.
Congratulations, guys. If you search the MagneZONE on YouTube, we are the top search result.
Oh, hey.
Hey!
So
nice.
We also
shout out to Andrew, the only dude who listens.
Mm-hmm.
I love you, Andrew.
Of our 10 subscribers, you're the best.
Also, shout out to the people who think the MagneZONE is too long. We're going to talk about shit anyway.
Look, I try to rein them in, but it's just there's no stopping them once they start.
Oh yeah, exactly. We're just gonna sit around and talk about Mons for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
And it's gonna be a good time. We're talking about rain teams this week. We talked about sand teams last time. Yeah, I'm glad I checked this, because otherwise we'd be doubling up on this.
About to talk about sand teams.
Well,
I was about to say, yeah.
For those of you who are playing MagneZONE Bingo, that is Cossack screwing up something. Cossack forgets an important detail, number 1275.
Oh. Cossack, I'm looking at my board right now, and that's like 5 squares. I think I might win automatically. So, do we want to talk about rain? I feel like I can actually talk about this.
I can too. I've run a rain team before. So, drafting rain. Rain, I will say, I think rain is a little bit... I don't know if it's more or less viable than sand.
I think it's slight. I think like if you draft rain correctly, I think it's more viable because I think rain has the best weather setter in Pelipper. Bar none, Pelipper is the best weather setter because it gets a form of momentum. So you get an extra turn of rain essentially.
Well,
but I think rain is also somewhat limiting.
I will say though, it also gets a stab move that capitalizes on the rain, which is Hurricane
massively. Yes.
Yeah. I just think it's hard to draft like rain plus extra stuff.
Yeah, the problem with
I think it becomes more difficult to do that.
Well, because
it's much easier to draft like sand and extra stuff like T-tar plus whatever.
Well, because the thing with sand is there's a lot of stuff that frankly doesn't care about being in sand.
Yeah,
and even like look at like you don't even have to draft like you don't have to restrict yourself to ground, steel, or rock because you can just Celebi doesn't care about being in sand. Celebi's fine for sand teams. It's actually a good pick.
Tangrowth is great on sand.
Exactly.
It's
so you've got
T-tar drill and like Tangrowth is a fantastic core.
Where rain is a little bit trickier because like you basically like if you have rain up and your opponent has a Watermon, they are going to benefit offensively from that rain.
Well.
Yeah. And God forbid your opponent has Beartick.
Or something
similar that can like
like a pain in the butt. It's like I think rain can be walled with proper play.
Well,
because if you have like a solid like a Ferrothorn out or something, like a Ferrothorn, a solid grass type out against rain,
the thing
becomes increasingly hard to kill.
The thing is, like with rain, it's very easy to like what you know when someone's running a rain team. And it's really easy to prep for a rain team, especially if you have something like. Well, I mean, look at like Gudra. If you have Gudra on your team and you're going up against a rain team, just run hydration and rest on Gudra, and you're gonna
do a lot of work.
Yeah, you're gonna profit.
I don't think it's necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily easy.
Well,
I think both have like. I think rain has a very different sort of style to it. It's much more offensive. It's very offensive. Whereas sand can be far. I think sand is more dynamic. While rain is very,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, rain can be like somewhat difficult to switch into at times.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that the term sand stall floats around. Like, it's because that's a play style. Rain stall hasn't really been viable since perma rain went away.
Yeah.
Like, I think that my experience of playing with rain was that I inherited this team in Alolan International, and I kind of reconfigured it to be a rain team. Yeah, it started as a sun team, and instead of I decided I didn't want Ninetales and Mega Houndoom. I wanted Politoed and Mega Swampert. I think one thing I would say about rain is that if you're drafting a rain team, grab a core that benefits from being in the rain, but can function outside of it.
Yeah, I think that's...
like get a Steel Fairy Dragon core going, a Firewater Grass core, whatever the heck you want. Get something that works outside of rain.
Get your Pelipper Kingdra and then go on. Get your Pelipper Kingdra / Mega Swampert and just go on with life.
Yeah.
Get things that can benefit from it as well, but you don't. I think drafting full rain is like the worst possible thing you can do.
Yeah, I think usually when you're drafting rain, honestly, if you're drafting anything other than sand, you're not so much drafting a sand. You're not drafting a team for it. You're drafting a core for it. Because a good example is a team like, and this kind of segues into the other types of weather as well. Because Mike and I are drafted in a UCL style league just today, and we drafted like we have a hail core and we have a sun core on the same team. But those mons function outside of those weathers. It's just like we can use it to abuse essentially.
Yeah. I do have to say, the other thing that I like doing with rain teams, and this was really fairly good for me, is of course you want to take advantage of your 100% accurate hurricanes. You want to have Pelipper if you can.
But Politoed isn't bad either.
Politoed isn't awful. It's definitely not a tier 5. I'll say that. It doesn't belong in tier 5. It's a good mon. Anything that gets crazy rain stab and can set its own
I think anything that gets like free rain basically should be
free
tier
weather
5. Yeah.
Almost.
Well,
unless you're Hippopotas.
Well, what is Ninetales? Like Ninetales is regular.
Ninetales is often tier 4 because that's because fire is like a terrible defensive typing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the only, I would say, like, and like Torkoal is tier 5.
But I've seen Torkoal tier 3 most. I've seen Torkoal in tier 3, tier 4 most of the time.
Oh, actually, okay, yeah. Well,
so
continue.
But yeah, what I was going to say is you're not going to be able to rely on fire, of course, to attack the grass types that you need to break for something like Kingdra or Swampert.
Which is why hurricanes are important.
I think that the strategy that I ran in Alolan International to decent success was basically that against any team that had a bulky grass type on the other side, I'd be sure it was coming. If there's a Tangrowth over there, it's definitely coming. If there's an Amoonguss over there, it's definitely coming because they want to be able to put a hard stop to my Mega Swampert, right?
Right.
Like, so the idea was just, well, I'm going to field one or both of Staraptor and Specs Noctowl, which, by the way, Specs Noctowl on rain teams. Clutch talked me into it. It's the best thing I've ever done with my life. Like, screw getting a college degree, screw, grad school and everything. My best decision ever was drafting Noctowl in that league. Because Tinted Lens,
perfect
Specs,
accuracy,
perfect accurate hurricanes are not to be ignored.
No.
When you can,
yeah, that's the thing. Is
like Mega Aggron with Hurricane.
Yeah, and so what I think I'd say is that with like rain and really just weather in general, if you're building a weather team, your prep can be like a little bit easier or even like a little bit simpler. But at the same time, you're bringing different things to kind of complement your core. You're looking at the other team and saying, what do they have that stops my Kingdra or my Swampert or my Beartick or whatever from running right through them? Let's target those things. Let's see how I can use those things for setup. And against some teams, you look at them and you're just like, there's no way my Rain core is going to function. And that's when you fall back on your non-Rain core that you should have drafted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think you got to hedge your bets with that stuff. Because, with weather in general, because the problem in Draft League with weather is a lot of times you're going to end up in a situation where someone's going to have mons that can exploit that weather and possibly counter sweep you.
It's one of those things with Pelipper, I think with Pelipper, I think it's a great weather setter, but I think it's one of the most, potentially abusable rain setters. And I think it's something that can be really frustratingly lured.
Yeah.
Because, that electric quad is kind of frustrating if you're not playing careful enough. And the second you let your guard down, you get an HP electric to the face, and you lose your rain for the rest of the game, you're gonna have some trouble with your full rain.
Yeah, and that's what I like about Politoed. And that's what I enjoyed about using Politoed, is that while Pelipper is definitely the better setter overall, I think its pros do outweigh its cons. Having just a simple, moderately bulky water that comes in, sets your rain, and can take a couple hits, HP electrics do very, very little to Politoed.
Yeah.
The one you're afraid of stab electric attacks, you're afraid of stab grass attacks. You're not afraid of a straight HP electric.
Yeah, it's gonna do nothing.
Yeah, chances are your opponents don't even bring it.
Right.
So.
But I think rain's really good. But I also think it's one of those things it's kind of difficult to draft in the right sense. Because there's part of you that goes, all right, I really want to get this rain team, and I want to go full in rain, get this and this and this, and then you go, and then you realize I'm bringing the same 6 mons every week, I'm having problems, and then getting really predictable.
Yeah.
And people bring lure sets, and you do this and that, and
yeah. And I think that's the difficulty as well in just really most weather, is that bringing one Pokemon kind of begets bringing another. You bring Politoed, or if you want to bring Mega Swampert, you bring Politoed to kind of maximize its usefulness. You don't have to, but you'd be missing out on. You'd be missing out on something that outpaces a whole lot of Scarfers if you do.
Yeah.
The utility of having something that's just that fast instantly.
If you have sand, someone pulls out. If you bring drill, you're bringing your sand. I think that makes sand so much better with drill. Drill sand. I think drill on sand is actually more terrifying than anything else on rain, because drill functions really, really well outside of sand, and it can be by itself.
Right.
Without sand.
Well, I think, you know what? I think that's what it comes down to with the weather. It's not just the weather itself and the effects that the weather has. It's the mons that are able to function under said weather, and that's really what it is. It's the mon support, and I think the mon support for sand is much more flexible than the mon support for rain. Because look at what drill can do. Drill can spin. Drill can sweep. Drill can break.
Can just throw rocks in front of a magic bouncer.
Right.
Throw toxic on a Mega Sableye.
Mold Breaker gives it so much utility that it can do a lot of things outside of sand, and when it gets under sand, watch out, because this thing is going to brutalize you.
Because you get a drill at +2 with a Z move, and something is going to die.
Pretty much.
So, and you're right. It's all down to that flexibility that really gives it the edge.
Sand is just I think sand is just more flexible than rain. I think that's my opinion. I think a decent amount of people would agree with me on that. But
you got to look at the dual types that function under sand also, because Empoleon doesn't get hurt by sand.
Yeah.
Ferrothorn doesn't get hurt by sand. Caesar, Mega Caesar, they don't get hurt by sand.
I guess the real thing with sand is the mons that have that big speed from sand are far more limited and more often not very good in comparison to mons that are really good under rain. because like you have there are three full mons that have Sand Rush. 4.
Yeah.
There are 4 mons that get Sand Rush.
And they're all good.
Like Sand Slash, Stoutland, Drill, and Lycanroc.
Yeah.
But if you look at Swift Swim.
Well, and the notable thing with Stoutland is it's not even like it's not a ground or like steel or any of those things. So it doesn't have a lot of common weaknesses with them. The only one really being fighting.
And there are 19 fully evolved Swift Swimmers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just like it's much more dynamic. I think when you draft sand, I don't get that many mons that can purely abuse sand. So you kind of have to draft differently, and like you have to draft extra things.
Mm-hmm. It forces you to draft stuff that can like function in and out of sand.
Yep.
Because
I think that's what personally to makes sand just better.
So in other words, the limitations of what can actually exploit sand versus what can function in sand. And you know what? That might be the critical mass thing, because there's a lot of things that function, or there's a lot of things that excel and can abuse rain. There's not a lot of stuff that necessarily functions in rain.
But I think there's a lot more things that function. I think there's a lot more things that function in rain and don't function out of rain.
Right.
And things that can function in sand that also function out of sand. I think there's a line there.
Yeah, there's a critical mass.
I'm not saying that rain is not good. I think it's very good in the right team. But I think sand is I like sand slightly more.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of a counterpoint to that, or kind of a not so much a disagreement, but also kind of a devil's advocate thing. Like, I think that there are actually a lot of things that do benefit from rain, but the issue is just that, in part as well, is the setters. I don't think rain setters are as durable or as threatening as sand setters either. Like, Hippowdon doesn't die. Tyranitar, if it gets hit with fighting coverage, then it goes down, sure. But like, the thing is,
you can't throw an HP fighting at it because it will live, because sand SPDF boost and all that jazz.
And the SPDF boost is huge for Tyranitar, right? Like, that's a big deal. Without that SPDF boost, you could, we'd be having a different conversation right now.
Yeah.
But, like, with Rain, the thing is that, Rainstall is huge in 5th gen. I think there are plenty of mons that benefit from being in Rain. But the thing is that, the issue is that it's a more difficult weather to keep up permanently.
That's true, because Hippowdon can usually find multiple things to switch in on to set that sand back.
Hippowdon gets in a lot,
and the other thing is that because the thing that actually inspired me to switch my Sun team and a little international to a Rain team was partially just looking at the team and saying, I see a Jirachi here.
Right.
Jirachi actually does really benefit from being in the rain. It enjoys it.
And it
deters people bringing fire coverage, which is one way of people hitting Jirachi super.
Right, and that does help Jirachi a lot.
And I will note as well that a lot of those mons that benefited from sticking around in rain now have more weaknesses compared to compared to 5th gen because of the steel type nerf. Jirachi now takes Dark and Ghost hit super effectively. In 5th gen, running Jirachi on a Rainstall team essentially meant you were taking away one of its 2 weaknesses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're not saying necessarily that building a Rain team is unviable. We're saying that it could be less viable and is much more difficult. I think it's much more difficult to do than a Sand team. Because honestly, building a halfway decent Sand team is relatively straightforward.
You get a Sand setter, you get a you get abuser, either Drill or Stoutland or Sand Slash,
right?
Because there's only 3 that are I consider usable, and then you draft things that kind of benefit from Sand, and things that benefit T-Tar and Drill. It's pretty. I think it's much more simple, much more straightforward.
Yeah, but now that we've kind of gone over that, and we went over Hail and Sun pretty thoroughly as far as our views on it, which is that they're not viable to build a team around. Having a core isn't a bad thing. Having a Sun core,
if you have a solid, if you're I need a good fire type, and Ninetales isn't a decent budget fire type. I can give Ninetales a decent budget fire type, and you go and you throw Victory Bell on there.
Well, like,
chlorophyll like users suck.
yeah.
I'm just gonna say that right now.
But like, I think Sun has more utility with, like, when you're drafting a Sun core, you're drafting a core. Just remember that.
Yep.
You're not drafting a Sun team. Drafting a Sun team is basically impossible because all the things that benefit from Sun are too frail to actually
and they're
fully
weak. And they're weak to fire.
Yeah,
they're weak to fire.
They're either weak to fire or weak to water, and because of that, like Volcanion just ruins a Sun team.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would say that it's totally possible to draft a Sun team. It's not going to be very good, probably.
Because
I'm not saying, and we're not saying whether or not it's possible. We're saying viable. It's not viable.
Well, you did use the word impossible a second ago.
That's true. By impossible to draft a Sun team, I meant impossible to draft a viable Sun team.
It's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Like
I would put it in the very high unlikely area.
Like, if
like
you
you're
win a title,
in magical Christmas.
You want a league title using Sun? Please send it to us.
To be fair,
I want to see that.
I will say though, if your league is unrestricted and allows Ubers, that's a different story because you can get dumb
Groudon.
dumb
Groudon doesn't
bullshit.
count. Groudon does not count.
Yeah. So
I want to see a Torkoal
and
like
Hail.
You can have a decent core like
yeah,
Houndoom, Torkoal, like Venusaur,
Houndoom,
like
Volcanion, Z Crystal, Volcanion,
I
Torkoal.
I think Volcarona / Victini have usage on Sun. Like it's doable, but like you don't draft it like you do with Rain.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, and like you're usually when you're drafting a weather core, you're drafting something that sets the weather and something that exploits the weather. And sometimes you just draft one mon that does both. Like a good example of that is Mega Char Y.
Yep. Char Y is solid on Sun, but like.
Anyway.
But again, Char Y is weird to go with.
And Hail, I'm gonna just tell you, Hail is even less viable than Sun because all of your
it's
mons.
Alolan Ninetales.
Yeah, your only real viable setter is Alolan Ninetales, and outside of that, like all the mons that abuse are all ice types, which means they're all going to be weak to 85% of the offensive coverage in your league probably.
They don't have resistances.
Yeah, they don't have resistances to anything. But
I think
ice.
Alolan Ninetales is a fantastic mon, like by itself.
Yeah,
because it's utility.
And
Aurora Veil is fantastic. Like he gets disable on core hypnosis.
Here's the deal with like Ice Core. We have an Ice Core. Mike and I talked about the one we drafted. It's Beartic and Alolan Ninetales. And that's a solid Hail Core. And
because you don't have to bring it every week, and Alolan Ninetales can function with literally an entire team by itself.
And that's why you can draft a Hail Core, but it's not. Don't expect to use it every week. The Hail Core can be used, and in fact, we plan on running it. There's a team in our league that and it'd be silly not to run it because it's available, and because Beartic also gets Swift Swim, which is important because it's not just that we didn't just draft Beartic to exploit the ice. There's a rain team in our league, so we can there's a team with Pelipper in our league. We can use this Hail team to abuse it because we have a mon that can exploit both types of weather theoretically. Like it could either or, which means that because of that, the enemy team now has to consider is it Swift Swim or Slush Rush? What is it? And that can force an indecision that gives us an opening for a sweep or allows us to break something that normally wouldn't be broken as easily. So basically, take caution, I think, is the biggest thing that we want you to take from this. Take caution when you're drafting weather teams in general, but in particular when you're drafting a rain team, and frankly don't bother with Sun or Hail.
Like full Sun or Hail, like
full Sun or Hail. Well, like I said, we're talking about a core. Like when we talk partial, we're just talking about a sun core or a Hail core. Like an example of a good Sun core was last season. Storm had a pretty decent
Ninetales and Leafeon.
And that was
help with the teams like because the team had a ton of like ice weakness and like
yeah.
Ninetales like puts up the sun and like kind of scares ice types out. Like,
Right. It pulled a pretty decent double duty there. So moving on, speaking of the RDL, going into the RDL topic now. Week 2 battles. So let me pull that up on the spreadsheet.
There is one battle that hasn't happened yet that I know of.
And there's one that just happened today, so we'll talk about that one. It's not on the sheet though, so probably not yet, unless Mike got to it.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not because it hasn't been up long. It's but that's the metaverse is.
We'll get to that. Yeah. But first, let's start with Akron versus San Jose. That was a close
very
battle.
close match.
Very close, like down to the wire. It was a 1-0 win for San Jose, and Mein Xiao, man, that thing can put in the work, right? Like, I mean, was he running it scarfed?
I think he might have been. I that's like the one I've never talked to Hype. It's like
okay.
I would assume scarf just based on like what he's going up against.
Yeah,
he needs something that would be like Torn-T.
Yeah, and it also basically guarantees an OCO on MagneZONE.
Yeah,
and I mean, even though MagneZONE would probably click Ice Shard or something like that, but
it's not going to die.
It's not going to die, and it guarantees the OCO.
It's not going to die from full.
Yeah, and it also hurts Armaldo, though not like a whole lot. I don't know. Anyway, Armaldo's not great, but
yeah. I mean, I think that Armaldo was a great anti-lead for Adam. Like, it was because he explained his logic, and if he was here, he'd talk about it. But it really was a good anti-lead for him.
Like we actually all like talked to him about his team beforehand, and he justified his team quite well. And it was a 1-0, so it could basically that could have gone either way. So I think it was valid.
I don't think there was anything glaringly wrong with his team. I think that it was, for the most part, that he said it himself that like he didn't take enough risks to win that game. Like he didn't. I mentioned this to Clutch. I mentioned this to Adam that like it's a common thing when you're down to an early deficit, or when you like lose momentum or somebody kind of grabs the momentum from you, to try and play safe, to try and kind of get back on the horse that way.
Yeah, to try and keep the gap from opening too far.
And I mean, that's why Adam, I think, was kicking himself really hard for that game, was because even just one turn of going out on a limb and like clicking Spore with Breloom as Victini came in. Or Rock Tomb for that matter. Like something like that could have flipped the momentum in his favor.
I think he needed to make a play to get back in that game, and didn't happen.
Yeah. And
which he knows, he's aware of. Like he beat himself up for it, and he's moving on. Like.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's there's a difference between being in a game and not seeing your way out versus not making the play to win.
Oh, we'll be talking about that, like about my match later.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could talk about my match that I had with Neek that's not going to be posted until week 5, where it's like in the middle of the match I couldn't see a way out.
Right.
So anyways.
So good close match. I think his team functioned as he wanted it to. It's just that he didn't, like you said, he didn't quite go out on that limb that he maybe should have done.
Yeah.
But like, hey, congrats to Hive on getting his first win. It wasn't undeserved. It was good prep.
He played really well.
In a 1-0 match, it's one of those things where both teams did everything they could, and just one person didn't quite get there. Usually with a 2-0 or a 1-0, that's the case. And so both coaches put in a great showing. Speaking of great showings, Brooklyn versus Philadelphia, and good God, that Zerkatry.
Yep.
That was a fantastic game.
That was a good game.
Another 1-0.
A good read by Whitehawk to go to the Metagross to try and take the hypnosis.
But I think
he didn't really have anything to do to Zerk after that.
Yeah.
I think what got him was when he let Kieran Black take all that damage. Like he kind of lost flat up to Zerk.
That was that was honestly, he played a fantastic game, and that was like the one play where I was kind of like, well, why would
Because like he flipped
that
outrage with a Kabayan in the back,
and yeah, I mean, I
and
think that
Kabayan obviously came in and like close combat did like 85% to it.
And I mean, now that I think about it, that play does make some sense in the frame of mind of I need to get some damage on this Reuniclus. But I think that maybe there was just another avenue for that, because that was the thing. Is it was just to me that was this Reuniclus is a huge threat. I need to do something to it.
Was
Zerg
life
it was a risk play
Specs?
that didn't pay off.
Zerk was Z.
Oh,
Z Hypnosis.
Oh, right, Z Hypnosis. Duh. Yeah.
But Z Hypnosis and like Whitehawk made a fantastic read of going hard into Metagross, so nothing went to sleep. Like and then he just like he had nothing for it. Like everything was dying.
Yeah.
I almost. What did he have? What did he switch out of at that time? What did he have in?
Was it probably Pex?
It had to be, because I was gonna say, depending on what he had in, and I wasn't remembering at the time, it might have been, as much as it's a gamble, it might have been safer to stay in and try and hit Zerk.
But not with Pex.
Pex can't do much.
I mean, if you have Haze, like it stops sort of.
But the problem is it's still weak to electric, and Xurkitree hits hard enough that
only 173 base special attack. It's fine.
Well, but like with Toxapex, Toxapex can tank weak things it's weak to, provided its bulk is in the right spot and the thing that's hitting it isn't A, stab, and B, really heavy,
ridiculously hard.
Right. But the problem is Xurkitree is stab electric and hits like a freight train. So
I think
Pex
I feel like an Oko's max.
Yeah. It might.
Toxapex walls a lot.
Toxapex walls a lot. Xurkitree I don't think is one of those things.
No, I mean Max Spadef Pex takes 2 neutral Thunderbolts from Zerk. It dies in 2 hits. Well, so it takes 1.
But that's really good. But that's still a 2-hit KO on Toxapex, which is not what you want to be doing with your Toxapex.
I guess if he stayed in, if he didn't get, I think maybe his way out was I guess staying in and clicking Haze, if he had Haze, clicking Haze and praying that Hypnosis didn't hit.
Right. And
I think that might have been his way out of that situation.
That's still a risk to take, right?
Because if that Hypnosis hits, you lose.
See, it's one of those things where I think it could have...
But in the same situation, even if the situation you switch out, that game was essentially over at that point.
Yeah, that Zerk. He had Zerk in the back, and I think when Santoro brought that in, he had to know that there really wasn't much that could be done about it.
Right. No. Well, and it's one thing. That's the thing with Santoro is he's pretty good about picking his moment to bring in the ridiculousness.
Him with Zerk and Dragonite.
He has a good working knowledge of when to use for timing and things like that. He's got good timing with a lot of his stuff.
For sure.
And it's because he preps well. He knows what the big threats to certain mons are and what he needs to get rid of to make his game plan work.
Yep.
And so and he did it. He got
Kyurem Black out of the way.
Got Kyurem Black out of the way, and then when the Kyurem's away, the Xurkitree will play.
Pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
I had to. Don't judge me.
Are we ready to move on?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, we move on to Chicago versus EC. It was a 4-0 win for EC. And
I'm 100% sure that Storm could have had that game.
I mean, she had the team for it. Feretris, Tapu Fini, Mega Absol, Blacephalon, Rotom Cut, Marowak.
I think... Well, I don't remember the entire... I watched this a bit ago, but
Well, I can tell you who got what kills.
I watched Omega's posted copy today.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I should watch that. We got... So For reference, EC had Heliolisk, Conkeldurr,
Yeah.
Porygon 2, Magmortar,
So I think like
Megatron.
Storm had +2 Absol out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like literally started killing things.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mhm.
I don't think Omega had anything for it, and he brought out Lisk, which I think we already saw like Life Orb recoil on.
Mm-hmm.
And like
No, it was Specs.
it was Specs.
Right.
That's right. It was Specs Lisk. And Mega Absol naturally outspeeds that.
Yeah.
And like I'm pretty sure Absol literally swept this team at +2.
Yeah, I mean,
And I think and then Storm switched out on the Heliolisk and proceeded not to
yeah.
sweep. It was kind of one of those things
No,
that's frustrating to
Storm
watch.
didn't switch out on the Heliolisk. Storm like just stayed in and took it. She didn't she didn't sucker punch or anything.
Yeah.
Like the
Like
because
she did. I think she set up again. She tried. She went.
that's
she
what
got,
it was.
She got
That's
greedy.
what it was.
Yeah.
She got greedy. She set up again on Heliolisk and Lisk blew it back.
I'm not really sure how that I think we were we were concurrently watching that game Clutch and we were trying to figure out what was the logic there.
Yeah.
And then but yeah, I think that maybe she just didn't think a sucker punch would KO from there when I'm pretty sure it would. I mean,
Okay.
Heliolisk is not
Heliolisk is not a bulky boy.
Pretty physically, especially physically, it's pretty frail. Absol Mega. Oh geez.
Yeah.
Sucker Punch does 161%,
Yeah, there you go.
and Knockoff does 224%. It kills at neutral. Like,
So, yeah, she had something. I mean, yeah, I don't really understand the move, but the other thing was that, I mean, Omega was in that situation because T-Tar missed a Stone Edge. Because what happened was that Absol got to +2 as he switched in T-Tar.
yeah,
T-Tar Megas gets hit with the play rough, lives with 2 HP. Both Clutch and I think we were even on voice or something, and then both of us were just like, no way! And then the Stone Edge misses. I mean, Omega was about to I mean, I felt bad for him. We felt bad for him at that point because we were just like, man, does he just lose now? Like, does he have Mach Punch on that Conk Elder?
He had Mach Punch on Conk, like, I guess, but like, I don't know if he did or not.
Yeah.
Well,
he mentions it in his video, like in passing. He's like that it's an option, but then like I didn't pick up whether or not he was just stating that it's something he could have done or something that he had. Like
yeah.
I didn't. And to me, I just didn't understand why he didn't go out to it first. Because to me, it's just like, well, if I've got a +2 Mega Absol out in front of me,
you can at least, if you don't have Mach Punch, you can at least bluff it. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You can always bluff the Mach Punch. It's a threat that has to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
It's at least got to be considered.
But this game finished out with Magmortar setting up a belly drum and then hitting Rotom, hitting Rotom Mo with a flame charge to kill, and then it was just 3 back-to-back kills. +6 Magmortar killed a Feeny from full with return.
Ouch.
Like,
it hurt.
Yeah, that's big damage.
Yeah. So
that's a lot of damage.
That's a lot of damage.
All right, so now we go to Galesburg versus Rochester hasn't been posted yet, right?
It hasn't been played.
It hasn't been played yet. Okay.
Yeah, Nick had to reschedule his games yesterday.
Okay, fair. So we'll move right along to LA Chargebugs versus Los Angeles Salgalios. This isn't on the sheet. This just happened today. But you guys both watched this, so give me the rundown.
Can we make a meme out of skipping this one?
Okay.
For brevity's sake. We want to make sure that this is short enough that Meta would actually like to listen to it.
Ouch.
He said it was too long. I'm just saying.
It is 62 turns. It's pretty long. It's the longest game this season so far.
It went to timer.
It went to timer again. And who won that one?
Meta won off of it, off of how because like it was 3-3 at timer, and I believe Meta had more HP left on his 3 mons than.
I feel like that's a little bit of a weird mechanic, or not mechanic so much as like.
Yeah, it's odd, but it's like.
That said, I do think that Meta won that battle. Clutch, you said that he didn't realize it, but he basically could have gone to +6 with Cress at any point and won. Like,
Yeah.
it was gonna happen sometime.
Yeah. Now, we mentioned my battle earlier with wishing that we'd taken more risks, and I certainly was in that boat because I lost 2-0 to Oregon, and
Okay. So
yeah, go.
here's how ties at the timer work.
Okay.
The first tiebreaker is obviously the number of Pokemon that are left. So if someone has 3 versus 2, the person with 3 wins.
Yep,
The
we
second
figured that out for my
tiebreaker-
match in week 1.
Second tiebreaker, is total remaining HP. Or if there's like there, or if the total remaining HP happens to be the same, it's total max HP afterwards.
So theoretically, if you have
Six
Chansey
Chanseys against like six Chanseys and like a Kartana, and nothing dies throughout the entire match, and everyone takes the same amount of damage, the person with 6 Chanseys wins because they have the most total HP.
Right, by a long
Hilarious,
shot.
actually.
That would be great, winning just because you have a Chansey on your team.
Oh, wait, I read the second tiebreaker wrong. The second tiebreaker is total remaining HP divided by total max HP.
Oh, okay.
That makes more sense.
And that could actually, and that's where Chansey could actually kill you, because Chansey, if it's on low enough health and you divide that by like, that could really skew it to just ruin you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a weird percentage. Yeah.
That is a weird percentage.
I will say kudos to having like this incredibly complex tiebreaker system to avoid having ties in Pokemon, like Game Freak.
If all those happens to be the same, in some ungodly fashion, it is a tie. So there is theoretically a way to tie on Wi-Fi in Mons.
So Sam, I think it's our goal now to like tech our teams, like collude together to like tech our teams to tie on purpose.
Nah, dude, it's my goal to smash you.
Okay, well, anyway, talking about getting Cossack losing battles, seasons 1 and 2.
Oh yes, that's.
So I lost against Ballistic, but that's because Ballistic made a couple really solid reads. Now, one of those reads was, as Sam pointed out, could have just been like him just thinking, oh, he's gonna switch into anything that's not Entei, but.
The more I think it over, I think that he made that play. Like, I don't think he was like predicting Rotom Wash to come in, but he was thinking that was your one Levitate user and therefore a logical switch in.
Yeah,
I just don't ever see Rotom Wash as a good switch in on Tangrowth, to be completely honest.
Well, I don't know. He was clearly teched for like ice, because his Tangrowth was running the ice berry.
Yachi berry.
Yeah, we had some big debates about this yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, because it was an interesting play. It screwed me. Like, don't get me wrong.
It means it was a good set then.
Yeah. Like if it seems silly but it works, it's not silly. But
I watched someone like Scarf Ambipom to revenge +1 Salamence. Scarf Ambipom in general like a terrible set, but Ice Punch Oko Salamence.
Yeah.
So
faster than Salamence +1, so it's a good set.
So like my team was Jirachi, Serena, Passimian, Rotom Wash, Mega Ampharos, and Entei versus Tangrowth, Zygarde 50, Clefairy, Hitmontop, Linoone, and Stakataka. I lost 2-0. I managed to nail the I did nail the Stakataka the way I intended to.
Yeah, that was a good play.
Which was with Passimian. I had teched Passimian
well prepped and well carried out.
I had teched Passimian to live a Gyro Ball. The idea being that effectively, as soon as I saw Stakataka come in, I would switch to Passimian because the reason is pretty simple, because Passimian, if you tech it to live a Gyro Ball and you switch it in on Stakataka, and I highly advocate this with any other fighting types that can potentially replicate this, and there are a few.
Really anything that doesn't die to a...
Right, anything that doesn't die to a Gyro Ball and has a fighting type coverage move. Basically, this is something I highly recommend. You switch in immediately on the Stakataka, because here's the deal: if you switch in on the Gyro Ball, you live, you outspeed, you Oko. If he switches to Trick, if you switch in on the Trick Room, you'll live the Gyro Ball, and then you'll Oko. And that's exactly what happened. I switched in on the Trick Room. What I did after that was my one major screw up, and I think it's the screw up that lost me the game, which is he brings in Clefairy. I thought maybe because I didn't have any speed in my Passimian, I thought maybe I would outspeed under Trick Room the Clefairy and clicked Sludge Bomb. Or no, Gunk Shot. I clicked Gunk Shot. Clefairy outsped under Trick Room, hit me with Moonblast, knocked out my Passimian. It was worth a shot, I think. Because Passimian had served its purpose. It got rid of the stack attack, which is why I brought it in the first place. But my mistake after that was, by this point, Ampharos got put to sleep right away because Tangrowth had Sleep Powder. So I switched Ampharos out, and you know what? That was the smart, not bringing Ampharos in early to get sacrificed or attempt to get the sleep off of it was actually a good decision, because then Tangrowth could not use Sleep Powder the entire rest of that game, pretty much. Which, now I think about it, was a good thing. And not that he would have necessarily wanted to, but there it is. So Mega Ampharos, I should have brought it in to the Clefairy to get sacrificed, because then if I had done that, the Trick Room would have been over, and I could have brought in Jirachi, revenge killed the Clefairy, and then swept the rest of his team with Jirachi. And still had Entei up in the back in case I couldn't quite get there with Jirachi. That's not what happened, though. What happened is I switched Jirachi in right away after the Passimian got killed.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult in those situations where you just don't know what the other person has.
Right, and
honestly,
I wasn't thinking about Thunderwave, and
yeah, I think that's something you like. Yeah, you scout for it,
and I should have scouted for it, but I didn't, and so and to be fair, there was no Thunderwave on the switch in. He hit me with another Moonblast on the switch. Or he hit me with another Moonblast, I think, or something like that. Like, he didn't T-Wave right away. When I pulled in the Jirachi. And so I pulled in the Jirachi, he hit it with T-Wave, and I 2KO'd it with Iron Head. And then I was screwed because Zygarde 50 was faster. And I did or not Zygarde 50, well, Zygarde 50 was faster, but
it's true.
What ended up happening is I Ice Punch didn't OHKO Zygarde 50, and because it didn't OHKO Zygarde 50, I ended up dying to Zygarde 50 because of Thousand Arrows, and then after the Ice Punch not OHKOing Zygarde 50, I switched into Entei, used Extreme Speed, because I'm like, there's nothing I can do here to win anyway, because Zygarde 50 outspeeds my Entei unless I use Extreme Speed. Right? It outspeeds Entei, doesn't it?
It does. It doesn't guaranteed.
If you were adamant and he was adamant, Entei outsped with E-Speed.
Yeah, but I don't know if he was adamant is the problem.
Yeah. Do you remember we had this conversation where I was like, you're running adamant Entei. If you run Jolly, you can guaranteedly outspeed.
But you can't run Jolly in E-Speed.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
There's no point. Yeah, I mean...
No, you actually physically just can't.
You legally can't.
Really?
You physically can't.
You
legally cannot.
I learned something today.
Yeah.
Well, anyways.
I learned I learned it while genning
shiny.
it. Yeah. It has to be adamant and it has to be shiny because it's an event-only mon that gets it. It's the only way it learns that move.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, really, I mean, at the very end, in that position where you revenge killed Zygarde with
Extreme speed, yeah.
If you just had one more thing to death fodder.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Because if I had Mega Ampharos to switch in to die to Tangrowth, I could have. Yeah.
I think if you had
that was a really tight game, I think.
It was. Yeah. It just came down to one coach playing just a little bit better than the other coach.
And a Yachi Berry.
And a Yachi Berry. Like good prep. Good prep.
Ballistic was in your head early match. Like
yeah, dude. That guy was mind reading me.
Like every move Cossack wanted to do. Like all right.
I'm like,
got
okay,
that.
well, and this is the thing that kills me the most is first he gets the read on the Entei and nails me with Earthquake.
And you got scared for the rest of the match to switch it back.
And
I
then,
think.
yeah. Oh, no, I certainly did. But the thing is, like, when I switched in Entei then, I was thinking about switching in Rotom Wash instead.
Youch.
And then I switched in Entei because I'm like, nah, I'll just switch in the Entei here. And then I switched in the Entei and got derped by an Earthquake. And I'm like, well, shit.
And I think that that's something that like you'll learn with time as a coach playing with Entei and really just playing with these big fat breakers as well. Is that like
bring him in whenever you can.
You bring him in when you can, but also like I think I pointed this out to you yesterday, Cossack. You had the sequence of plays that led up to that is that you had Serena in on Hitmontop that had just fired off a close combat.
Yeah.
And so
I should have predicted the switch into And
or you don't. It's not even necessarily a prediction. It's just that thing is like it's early match. He probably doesn't want to leave it to die yet.
Yeah.
So clicking U-turn, like if you do, then worst thing in the world, you just have to find a switch into a Hitmontop, which is not the worst thing.
Hitmontop is not like.
Yeah.
I mean,
U-turns only U-turn. If U-turn's ever a bad click is if you can't switch into what you're U-turning on.
Yeah, I will admit that was one of the things I look back on, and like, you both mentioned it right away after you watched the battle, which is that I didn't U-turn enough, and I didn't.
Yeah, and the U-turn there is critical because if Entei comes in and isn't being attacked by Tangrowth, then you're golden, right?
Yeah.
You instantly force that thing out. You're instantly making him make a decision to have something come in and eat a Sacred Fire, or
right? Probably a Sacred Fire. That's usually the good click there because that 50% burn, especially early game.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the other honestly, and then what happened is later on I switch into Rotom Wash, and we talked about that. It just got Giga Drained, and I had considered switching into Entei again, and like it was just like like my first thought both times was the right one. And it just flipped. Like, if I could go back in my brain and, like, as I'm about to go, oh, no, I'll switch into Entei and just smack myself across the face. No! Rotom Wash!
And that's where, like, you also have to try and learn, like, everyone has to try and learn to read other people's reads, and that's tough. Like, it's like, if
it's not something I'm used to because I'm a stall player, and stall players don't generally have to make a lot of reads.
Yeah, exactly. So
the biggest read is, can I live this hit?
Yeah.
With enough HP to click my recovery move. So yeah, that was a close game. Moving on to Ohio versus San Antonio. And yeah, San Antonio.
Michael, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
I mean, credit to Dominator. It wasn't a bad match, but that was a lot of hacks.
He played for the hacks. And I think when he was when he was down like he was, like, he knew he couldn't break Earthworm when he's down like that. I think he had to play for the freeze, and he got it.
Oh, did he freeze?
He froze a Ferrothorn, and Ferrothorn stayed frozen for 7 turns.
Jesus!
It was bad. And then
in this time period, Dominator ended up getting rocks off the field and killing Ferrothorn while setting his own rocks, I think.
Well, no, Latios doesn't set rocks.
No.
Oh yes, he got Michael's rocks off the field, and proceeded to beat Ferrothorn 1-on-1.
And the reason that getting rocks off the field was big was because he had a under 25% Thunderous Incarnate in the back.
No, Thunderous
Therian.
Yeah, it's
Thunderous Therian. He had like a 2% Thunderous Therian in the back.
Yeah, it was low health.
And it got to click a free move.
Yep, and that was the deciding thing.
It was so 2-0. Bad. It was 2-0. So it was a close battle, and it's because of the hacks that it.
It definitely.
But
the hacks definitely decided the battle. The battle was undecided, but like in my opinion, before that freeze,
Michael had
Ferrothorn.
Mike had the upper hand. And
rocks up, Ferrothorn was in, and like
it sucks when this kind of thing happens.
HP fire,
but it happens, and it's just something you have to.
Yeah, it's the game we play, and this.
Yeah. And so
I think I counted after the fact, but like at the beginning of a freeze, you have a 20% chance to stay frozen for 7 turns. Like if you just got frozen, you have a 20% chance to thaw on any given turn. Like every turn that goes by, it's a 1 in 5 chance. which
Really?
I think is actually
it
kind
stays
of low.
the same.
Yeah, it doesn't get more likely, which is why freeze is a dumb status.
Better than it was in like Gen 1, at least. Gen 1
So-
freeze, you got frozen, you stayed frozen.
So the next battle down the list is Seattle Supersonics versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Is this the last one?
It
believe
might
so.
be. Yes, I think it is. Because
Okay.
Rochester hasn't battled yet, and we've already talked about San Jose and San Antonio.
Gudra's still my MVP.
Yeah.
I am undefeated in games where Gudra shows up, and we won't talk about games where Gudra doesn't show up.
Not yet, at least. Not yet.
Not yet, but we'll get there.
Okay,
Because
but
he's only played 2 games.
Yeah, I've only played 2 games, definitely. And there's not a hidden game, week 5 game that makes me sad. Anyways,
Rip.
yeah.
Rip spoilers.
Spoilers. Sorry guys, but anyways, playing Rich was an interesting match. I mean, I prepped quite a bit to deal with Excadrill, and then it didn't show.
Come.
Which I think that there was a good balance of play here. The first turn taking out Noivern with Gudra was a big play for me. Because Clutch and I had teched with that specific Gudra set, but we hadn't teched it to take we hadn't
Specs
quite
Draco.
teched it to take Specs Draco.
It was
But
close.
it was a 12.5% chance to what is that, 1 in 8? Yeah, it's a 1 in 8 chance to KO Gudra. And I lived with 5% and Ice Beamed back and took out Noivern, which was actually low-key a huge threat to my team.
Yeah.
And that was like that was a big play. That was one of the things that started us kind of on the downhill slide. The one thing that also really kind of put the game pretty firmly in my control was that one of my objectives was weakening Mega Aggron. And
which is how you get rid of Mega Aggron.
It doesn't have recovery, right?
It does not have recovery
other than rest. And
but that's unreliable. I'll say rest sets with Mega Aggron, it's a crapshoot at best. It's
unreliable. And I mean, I had ways to 3-hit KO that thing or 2-hit KO it.
Yeah,
but I got a close combat off as his mega evolved Mega Aggron came in.
Ooh.
And of course, that's a lower attack stat, that's no filter, and it's a quad instead of a.
It did like 79. It did like 79%.
Yeah, and I mean, Clutch and I were talking about that afterwards. I mean, you could do the calc if you wanted to, but if that thing is mega evolved when it switches into that close combat, it does nothing. Less than 20%. Or no, 28%.
It doesn't do a
25
lot.
to 30%.
Hey, what's good?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Did I
do
just
a
say
lot.
28?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
It doesn't do a whole lot. I can tell you as someone who
the difference
used
between
Mega
doing
Aggron.
28% to a Mega Aggron and 80% is pretty massive.
Yeah,
And
that was a good shot.
And there was and also to Rich's credit, he made a good play. In I was scouting his Rotom for Scarf. He was using Shadow Ball on my Hippowdon. I switched to Staraptor, figuring that there's basically no chance that he goes for a T-Bolt when my Hippowdon is sitting right in front of him. And he goes for the Shadow Ball. It does nothing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm immediately gonna switch back to my Hippo and see, because if he's Scarf, he switches out, right? Because he can't do anything to a Staraptor.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not Scarf, then I, switch to Hippo. He probably goes for a T-Bolt, and that does nothing to Hippo.
Right.
And, I can go from there.
Yeah.
But, that was my intention, is just scout him. And dude just stayed in, went for another Shadow Ball, and was fine. Took out my Hippowdon because of it. That was a solid play. That's a read that, honestly, I wouldn't have made.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it wasn't a horrible game for that reason, but it was over fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Another pretty pivotal moment was when I think he switched his Jolteon in on my Starmie as I went for a Surf.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was running Scarf Starmie, so I just went for another Surf and KO'd Jolteon because I figured Scarf Jolteon was unlikely.
If you want speed on Jolteon, you're on like quick feet.
Yeah, and when I didn't see when I didn't see the flame orb, then I was fine.
All right.
So that's that match.
All right, so the one other thing we got to talk about in regards to the RDL is there were some transactions that happened recently, or rather a transaction.
A transaction.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone else made any other transactions recently.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Well,
wait, hold on.
Can we say what it is?
Well, no, hold on. Before that, actually, Koala did post that the Solgalios will drop Buzzswole as Z captain, and Celesteela is going to be their new Z captain.
Z Celesteela is so lit.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I don't see anything wrong with that. Celesteela's got the move pool to support that. And there's a lot of silly things Z Celesteela can do. I
think like an offensive Celesteela, like the Z move is really appreciated just for extra breaking power, because it likes that extra boost to get past that first little check. And so it can sweep, and then just sweep there.
So here's the deal: we had our first official trade between two teams today for this season, and it was the Los Angeles Chargebugs will be trading Silvally to the Brooklyn Bulbasaurs. In return, they're getting Slurpuff. So Chargebugs get Slurpuff, and Santoro gets Silvally, God help us all.
Yeah, pretty much. Because to be honest, like I was looking at his matchup. I have to play Santoro this week, and he has Silvally now, which is not my favorite.
What you might want to check is see if it takes effect this week or next week.
It should take. I mean, it's the week is still active this week. It will be there for week 3. It's still week 2 technically.
Yeah, so I think
so. It does activate week 3.
I think,
which is when that match takes place.
Yeah, it's just
yeah. So have fun.
I mean, Silvally doesn't scare me that much.
No, Silvally's not that scary. I would say Silvally in the hands of Santoro is worrying. I wouldn't quite say scary, but it is worrying.
It's a nice little utility defense. Kind of do some pivoting.
Honestly,
but it can be a decent defensive check to some specific thing.
Well, it's good. I think it's the quintessential Gloomon, really.
Yep. Because it can do a lot of things. And it's got a really nice move pool. Like,
well,
if it had recover, it'd be like 10 times better.
I think the fact that his team appreciates parting shots on the enemy team is
his team appreciates parting shots, and oh my gosh, he needed another defogger. I mean, that team just like
begs for defoggers.
Yeah, because Rocks on his team is just so good.
It's a defogger that's not weak to rocks.
Yeah, and that's
So let's talk about. No. Go ahead.
I mean, that's what's worrying to me is that going into that, like before the trade, my strategy against Santoro was just going to be like get Rocks up as early as possible to
attrition it out,
gather as much residual as possible. Spin if he gets Rocks up, and just fire off some Brave Birds into him, fire off some like close combats where just like hit him with big moves. That was the plan previously.
Now that's not as viable because he's got that.
As, I mean, like it's certainly not viable to run a suicide. It's still viable, but like it's still like I was considering running like a borderline suicide lead.
Yeah, but now that's not exactly on the table.
I think Silvally as a defogger can be pretty well pressured.
Yeah, it's
like,
gonna.
You can make some pretty.
Don't get me wrong.
It's not gonna be too bad. So the let's talk about the effect. We've pretty much gone over, I think, the major impact it's going to have on Brooklyn. Now, this trade also has an impact on another team, which is the Chargebugs. I'm not certain that letting go Silvally was a good idea.
I thought he needed the defogger. I think I said that to him, but like,
it's not I
said that to him. I said, in the end, it is your call.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he does have. I mean, Manga's Choice and Whimsicott are pretty solid forms of hazard control.
Yeah.
Manga's Choice spins pretty easily on a lot of things. It can beat Ghost with Dark Pulse.
Yeah.
And Dark Pulse hurts Ghosts like a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Whimsicott and Whimsicott has prankster defog. So like he has fairly reliable ways of removing hazards.
Yeah. Now there is the issue that I think he's now lacking I mean, he's got Nidoking, but other than the problem with Nidoking is it's weak to one of its own types, which is ground. And he doesn't have, other than Nidoking, he doesn't have just a solid ground type, right?
Nidoking's a decent.
I mean, I'm not saying that Nidoking's a bad ground type. I think the poison typing kind of nullifies a little bit of that, though.
I think when you're going for a good ground type, though, you're more looking for the electric immunity rather than
that's true.
Neutral ground.
I don't
know.
He
has Nidoking. He has Evire.
I still think he loses a lot of flexibility with the Sylveon that I think he would rather have, other than having a second fairy type.
Mm-hmm. I think you always lose flexibility if you send Silvally out the door, unless you're trading for Mew or something.
Right. Well, but
which isn't happening.
But what I'm trying to say is that he needed that flexibility more than he needed a second fairy type.
Maybe he just wants webs.
Maybe he does. And you know what? Webs would be really good for his team. His team would benefit from webs quite a bit. Like Nidoking just
on webs is okay.
Yeah. Electivire on webs is
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fire on webs is good.
Nidoking on webs is Heatran.
And Salamence never turns down the chance to be even faster than it already is.
I mean, it's base 100. It's not that.
You know what? Hoopa U appreciates webs too.
Yeah. He likes that website.
So you know what? Webs. I think if he, it might be a good idea. It could certainly help.
Hear your speed tiers on webs. And and web. I mean, he plays offense.
Look down, look up again. Your team, the enemy team, is now in sticky webs.
And I guess the whole thing, like we're saying, doesn't have any defog. But I think webs forces your opponent to defog for you almost.
Yeah,
that's true.
It does, and it's gonna depend on the team in question, because some teams have more spinners.
Some people just don't care about defogging.
The other thing,
I play plenty of people who just don't bring rocks, don't bring defog, and they're just like, why would I waste a turn to defog? I could just click a setup move.
Right now, I think that logic is flawed on a fundamental level.
It's extreme. I think it's extremely flawed too.
The only thing is, now with Silvally gone, he doesn't have a consistent spin blocker.
I mean, I wouldn't call Silvally consistent.
Well, I mean, it's the closest thing he had to a consistent spin blocker.
Yeah,
if he made it goes.
I guess when you're running webs, you do, and that's useful to have.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not. Do I think that's necessarily crippling? No, and I think it's tough to call here. I don't think it was the right choice, but that might just be because even though I don't have to face Brooklyn during the regular season, if I make it to playoffs, I might, and I'd rather not have to prep for Silvally in the hands of Santoro.
A guy considered the heat god, essentially.
Yeah. So
the heat god.
So we'll see how that goes. But it's an interesting decision.
Does Meta even play Santoro? I mean, it's just
no. I don't think Meta does. No.
So I mean, he does. He certainly doesn't see the downside of.
Well, yeah, exactly, and maybe that's the thing. He
he does not.
And he has free agent transactions left, so
Yeah, he still has one.
Yeah, so
so if it doesn't work, doesn't like it,
right? He can ditch it for something else. So it's certain. And you know what? Maybe that's what puts his team over the top. Having those webs, maybe that's what ties it all together. Having the webs, or having Slurpuff in the back.
Yeah, for a belly drum, whatever. Like a Calm Mind Resto Chesto.
Yeah, some sort of ridiculous setup set.
Oh, that's a set it can run, can't it? Oh.
Yeah, Calm Mind Resto Chesto.
Yeah. I'm gonna kindly ask you to stop giving my potential opponents ideas. Well, I mean, he is my opponent later in the season, but I'd take it as a kindness if you could not do that. I'm kidding. It's Clutch. He's everyone's front office, so
I haven't gotten to know any of the new coaches yet because new
coaches, guys. Come on.
I don't play any of the new. That's how I got to do. That's how I got to know the coaches last year. I played them, and I struck up a random conversation, and then I became the front office.
So
Adam and I didn't really talk until Adam and I played.
Yep, that's how me and Adam works.
Yeah. So it's So we'll see how that transaction works going forward. Next week we should do pick'ems. I forgot that those are now open. Pick'ems are now open.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
And
I accidentally left one of my Seattle picks.
Yeah, I know. Mike told me about that. So initially, Sam posted every match except his own as him winning Seattle. Because you type every coach gets a chance to type in their own picks for the wins each week, and I figured this is something we'd probably end up doing on the podcast anyway. So I don't see why not.
Yeah.
So real quick,
stay humble.
Now we're not going to really talk about much of our reasoning because we can always talk about that more next week. Mm-hmm. So, especially because it seems like the pace of free agent transactions has gone down considerably. Any sort of transactions. So I think we're pretty safe until week 6.
That'll be fun.
So first up, Los Angeles Sogalios versus Liverpool. I'm not going to comment because that's my battle. So you guys take your picks.
No.
I mean, I said Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think I said.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's sort of mainly I'm partially biased, but like, I don't think he has much for like some of your team. He just like doesn't handle. Like, and I think you break through Celestino pretty well, which is because you have ways of beating Stilo.
Okay.
Like Entei and Ramash and all that.
Yeah.
So which frees up the door for some of your mod.
So Sam, your pick?
I think the way that I do a lot of my pick'ems is that, like, I glance at the two teams and I say, like, well, from a matchup standpoint, like, if I could pick one of these two teams to play with against the other, which one would I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like, I think I still kind of like. I don't hate how Koala matches up against you.
Yeah,
and
I think it's a pretty even matchup. Just putting my 2
I think
cents
it's pretty
in.
even.
Match.
I figure I'll give it to the new coach as well. You know, like he's like 0-2. He's gonna be looking for his first win. Like,
yeah,
you know, I mean, he'll be out there. He'll be hungry. Like, he could get it.
So yep. Moving on to the next one. Oregon versus Los Angeles Chargebugs. And I'm going to level with you now. Looking at this, everyone has predicted Oregon.
I don't think...
Except for one person.
I think there are very few things on Meta's team Fizdef, Tangrowth, and Sulking together.
Actually, no, everyone that's voted so far has voted Oregon.
I just don't think Meta can break through Tangrowth and Slowking. Like, it's really hard for him to break through those two.
Oh, actually, sorry. Kits voted for Chargerbugs. But anyway. Yeah, I do think after having played Oregon, and I've played both LA and Oregon, so I think I can safely say that Oregon does have an edge going into this one.
I think that region core is really tough for him to break. Because, like, everything that, like, Tangrowth does not like Nidoking and Heatran, like, Slowking will switch in on and literally not care at all.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the beauty of the regen core, if you can get it, which is if you have... The idea of the regen core is you have one mon that's special defensive, and one mon that tanks physical. Or, like, you know, like, depending on how you're working your regen core, but that's one of the common ways to do it. And in this situation, it matches up beautifully because his special walls the things that would be hurting his physical, and vice versa. So it's going to be very difficult to break that core. I only had to face one half of that core, and I had trouble breaking it. So
how does and I think if Oregon can get Lanoon set up, it kind of wins. Like,
yes,
Lanoon, like if he sets up Lanoon and Crest is like weakened, like a little bit weakened, like Lanoon like will run through this team without a conscience.
Yeah.
So that moves us neatly into San Antonio versus Chicago. Opinions on this one seem to be slight edge towards San Antonio, but there are a couple people who do think that Chicago has the chance to take it here.
Meta picked Chicago. Rich picked Chicago.
mean,
I think SAS is gonna go undefeated in divisionals round 1.
San Antonio's really good. They put up a very good showing.
It's a very solid team. I mean, to be fair, the matchup of megas is such that Storm has the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm not.
Megalodius is not like dark type moves.
I do think this one might be one of the closer matches this next week. I think it's certainly got the potential to be anyway.
Storm?
Dominator has to break through Beanie a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I mean, Manaphy does like with ease almost. And I think like once he gets Manaphy set up on a tail glow, like.
Well, yeah.
It's gonna be problematic. Like tail glow Z Rain Dance, like absolutely is the most terrifying possible in existence against it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think
you can run water plus grass coverage and hit most everything.
So this next one has an almost even split. Okay, no, give your 2 cents. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, my 2 cents is that I think that there is tech that exists that for Storm to like play against that. Yeah. And also, I mean, she's been playing pretty almost kind of hyper aggressive with Mega Absol. Like if that thing gets going, maybe she has a chance.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
And
anyway,
I think it'll be an interesting one. I think
it might be whoever knocks the threat
whoever gets that first little jump on. I think.
Yeah, whoever can get that oopening for the setup sweep first is probably going to take it. Which is why I think
got a really big thing with Veil against that team.
Yeah. And that's why,
Veil goes up and there's problems.
That's why, like I said, it's got the potential to be one of the closer matches this week. Moving on to EC versus Ohio, opinions are very split on this one.
Oh, that's going to be a good game. That could be the game of the week.
I think that has the potential to be game of the week. 2 good coaches, 2 solid teams, very well matched up against each other. It's pretty even, tough to call.
I honestly think that Emerson and Michael are 2 of the more satisfying coaches to watch play as well.
Yeah. Definitely.
They play good games. They play fun games.
And they have fun. Yeah.
Yep. And that's really all we have to say about that. We move on to Pittsburgh versus Philadelphia. This one's got a decently split opinion as well, actually. Yeah, I'd say about the same.
I think Whitehawk wants that first win, and he's gonna do anything he can get to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and Whitehawk has the potential. Like Whitehawk did pretty well with the inherited team last season.
Whitehawk did very well with the inherited team last season, and he's
0-2 with a -2 this season.
Yeah, he's lost to me and Santoro, which I don't want to say too much about myself, but like Santoro, we're talking about here.
Well, and Santoro's
times with one Mon on the other side.
Right, and
I feel like that's a testament to something.
Like we're talking about 2 playoff coaches, and we're talking also about one of those coaches made it to championships 2 seasons in a row.
Two semi-finalists last. Both semi-finalists last.
Yeah.
Who both have really solid teams this season as well.
Uh-huh. And I mean, to be fair to Whitehawk, he has a solid team too. It's like
Bulu
and Kieran B.
It's just Black and
then
you add Halucha on top of all that. Like it's a scary team.
It's definitely going to be a really close match. This might be this is the direct competitor for EC versus Ohio for match of the week, I think.
I think it's it depends on how their offenses get going.
Yeah. I think
because the thing is that
Whitehawk has the advantage because playing sand against sand with Bulu.
Oh yeah. That's a fair point.
At the same time,
Drill is something that can.
I mean, you have to think that Drill with Ironhead is
Drill puts in so much work.
That's why I pick. That's why I pick Pittsburgh is because this game is really it could be close. It could be interesting. Because both teams really want their first win, right? And someone's coming out with a loss. Someone's coming out with a win. And I'm not entirely sure what if Rich can keep his sand up, if he can keep T-Tar alive and keep it coming back, then he can get rid of Bulu, and if he can get rid of Bulu especially and free himself up to Earthquake.
It's more of get rid of Electros, I think.
Yeah. Ironhead doesn't work.
I mean, Electrox is his best, one of his better sand check.
Yeah.
Because if it's Sand Rush Drill, he can't hit Electros for super effective damage.
Yeah, it's true. I just think that Electros is like, I mean, So that's true. That's the one thing that I kind of looked through and was like, well, that does stop Sand
I'll calc
Rush.
it. I'm gonna calc this though.
Okay.
Dude.
Well, while you're calcing it, let's talk about the next match, which is Brooklyn versus Seattle. And
Correct.
that's again, opinions are split on this one.
Yo, I picked Brooklyn.
He doesn't need much trip. He doesn't need much chip on drill.
Mm-hmm.
If like on max HP drill, like +2 Z rock slide is a kill.
Ooh.
+2 jolly Z rock slide is a kill.
Yo, you listening, Rich?
Rich, we just gave you the key to victory. No.
Yo, okay.
So,
of course,
suddenly Whitehawk jumps in and is like, if you would kindly stop giving my opponent's ideas.
I guess the problem becomes that Lucha can come out and revenge it if terrain is up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the issue as well. Is that it's like as much as one team doesn't like he.
Well, you know what?
He doesn't switch in well to Lucha, but Lucha does nothing switches in well to Extra Drill. Nothing switches in well to Lucha. It's tough.
I think again, it's like you said. It's whichever team's going to get their offense going first. Whichever team can just take that momentum and run with it. Like if one team can get the momentum going enough, that's going to be the key right there. So.
Yeah. How Electros fares and how Lucha fares.
So Brooklyn versus Seattle, that's gonna be a good fight.
That's gonna be a very interesting game.
Jeez.
It could be a lot of. I think it could either be a lot of things dying on like Santoro's side, or like Sam sitting there struggling to do damage and doing nothing.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm thinking that this is one. I mean, I just need to spend time in the lab to figure this one out. I mean, chances are it's going to come earlier in the week. I'm traveling Friday night.
Oh, okay. So that could be. Yeah.
This will be our like mid. This will be your guys' mid to late week entertainment. That's fine.
Nice.
All right.
But yeah, I think that I don't hate my matchup. I already am. I think I already mentioned that there are things that I can do to play, and I feel like compete. But
yeah.
My worry right now is it's like I was talking to Clutch before this is that I feel like there are weaknesses in my game that I'm gonna be working on this season and trying to kind of correct and try and bring up, and I'm worried that honestly the big one for me is something that Santoro hounded last season in the semifinals. Like he killed me in that match because he played to a weakness of mine. Whether that was conscious or unconscious, he played to it.
He plays really well in rematch. I think Santoro is notably better in rematches because he has that feel against you, and he knows, especially in the same teams, obviously. He knows what you did well last time, and like I think it's harder to play on the winning side of on the winning side, like the first match in a rematch, because they already know what works against them. You already know what works against them, and they know that you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
that works against them. And it becomes like this mind game of
like did
how do I beat this again?
Yeah, like
in a different fashion.
If you lost, you already saw something not work. Like you saw something actively fail. Somewhere.
So moving on, because I didn't want to spend this much time talking about each match, but here we are.
But here we are. This is why the podcast is 2 hours long.
I mean, it's only an hour 20, but we still got Mon of the Week to do after this. Anyway, moving on, Galesburg versus Akron. There seems to be a lot of more people in favor of Akron winning this one. It's still going to be a good match though, because we got two good coaches, two solid teams. Again, like I've said that for like 3 different games now, but it's the truth.
Is this the game we see Zoroark come off the bench for the first time?
Yeah,
I think it is a really nice matchup here.
That is probably the biggest question, honestly. And then
look at Zoroark and look at Galesburg, and it's like it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's
like
a good matchup for Zoroark.
Like, and if Adam conceals it well, like something could die that.
He could break the game wide open depending on if Zoroark comes and if he puts it in the right place at the right time. Moving on to Rochester versus San Jose.
Would you like to show me how you deal with Rochester? Because Rochester, Seattle needs to show us how he deals with Coco. Like Specs Coco clicks the button and he's gonna die.
I think it's San Jose, right?
Yeah, it's San Jose. Yep. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. And it's gonna be tough for San Jose to break that. So
like, I'm pretty sure like Volt Switch, like those are powerful Volt Switches that are firing off in like deagling like HP ground, like
yeah,
is like really hard. Like and your Thunderbolt is like your fourth move. It's something is gonna be, and it becomes really troubling just to deal with.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to how he deals with that. Honestly, how he deals with the Coco.
Yep.
And if
he can't deal with Coco,
it's definitely an uphill battle for San Jose.
I think he has definite shots of being able to do with Coco.
Yeah.
But like I think if Rochester plays smart and baits out the right Scarfer and knows what's going on, like
yeah. So those are the kind of quick overview of what's happening next week. And we'll go over next week. We'll do a quick overview of the battle that hasn't happened this week yet. We'll go over that, and then like that'll be part of next week. So now that we've done that, let's talk about our mon of the week. And our mon of the week is Como-O.
that was Raikou.
Oh right, it was Raikou. No, because
I said Raikou. I guess I said Raikou.
I think it's because you said Como-O before that, and then you said Raikou.
Yeah, I said a lot of different mons before that.
Yeah, because we weren't really sure what we were gonna do. I still think Chimecho would have been a good option, but they both shut me down. So yeah, Raikou.
Tier 5, weird utility move pool. Okay, continue on.
This is a dual header mon of the week.
This is as if this podcast hasn't run on long enough anyway.
Well, if we just said everything we're gonna say about Chimecho, we can move on to Raikou now.
Yeah, Raikou, the significantly better mon.
Fast electric type. Thunderbolt hits ridiculously hard, obviously.
Yep.
Solid coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Good Volt Switch user.
Great Volt Switch user. Great. I mean, it can run it gets pressure, which is kind of interesting if you want to run like a bulkier like.
You can definitely run a special defense set on this thing.
You can definitely. I got walled by AV Raikou at one.
Yeah.
So like it definitely it's definitely a solid Pokemon. Like access to like extreme speed.
You know what?
85 attack is somewhat respectable.
Right. It's enough to consider using extreme speed. Honestly.
If you need to pick something off on a spec set, like it can be useful enough.
The other thing to think about with this thing is I actually think because of its decent special defense bulk, it can run a sub Calm Mind set.
Oh, easily.
Yeah,
and break through. It can run sub Calm Mind, break through fatter really well.
It's definitely it's a good sweeper because it's fast and it hits hard. It's a good Scarfer option, I think.
But it likes the Z move a lot as well.
Yep, it's a good Z captain. It's a good
run call. It's like sort of to the extent where you run Calm Mind and you click like Z Hyper Beam or Z Thunder or something like really tough to hit. Something that they're gonna struggle to switch into. You kind of almost get a kill.
Yeah, and on top of that, it also is a good stall breaker because of that sub Calm Mind.
Yep.
Set. So it's not quite the all singing, all dancing, but it's certainly pretty good. It's got a lot of different roles that it can run very effectively.
Normally we're like what, tier 1? Is it tier 1?
And I honestly have always been a fan of mono electric types because they have a lot of utility. They don't have a lot of exploitable weaknesses other than ground.
And ground is a fairly simple weakness to play.
Right, you can play around ground. There's ways to do that.
Like, Earthquake is a core one of I consider like a core 5 move, but it's definitely something you don't like. You can expect it when you have a Raikou. You're like, okay, they're bringing ground coverage against me.
And in fact, you can use it to bait earthquakes in a lot of situations, which can be really helpful because that can provide you an opening to switch into something else.
Especially because of its speed tier, it promotes a lot of Scarfers.
Yeah.
A good one that's like off the ground and can set up.
Yeah, a good part. Well, and you know what a good mon that works in a good core with Raikou is Gliscor. Gliscor with Swords Dance. You bait the earthquake, switch into Gliscor. Force the switch.
Gliscor just fits with so many things anyway.
Yeah,
Gliscor's just a fantastic Pokemon.
I think that honestly the thing that makes Raikou is that if it was a base 100 speed mon, it would be tier 2 or lower.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it is so fast, it ties with like Starmie. I mean, it's
115
an
is a
elite
very
speed
nice
tier.
speed tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, 115 is fantastic. I mean, beating 110s, beating the 100s by enough that you can run a modest nature and still outspeed them, that's massive. That's a big deal.
The base 100 10s, but yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm saying you outspeed base 110s if you're like timid, right?
Timid. Yeah.
And you can outspeed base 100s if you're modest.
Yep.
So.
Well, and the other thing is like this actually is a good mon. I think this is a good mon to counter Jirachi.
It's a decent Jirachi check.
It's
is pure electric. Like it's a great steel type switch in just because it's a pure electric type. Like, pure electric's a solid defensive typing. That's why MagneZOne.
That's why MagneZOne.
MagneZOne is like such a solid like pivot because electric steel is like such a fantastic typing.
Especially because it has the ability to trap steel types.
I think analytic is like a really underrated ability.
Yeah, that too. And the other thing to consider also with like it's the same reason why Rotom Wash and like Electros, we talked about that earlier.
Like just bulkier electrics are just really nice things to pivot with.
Right. And so and the best part is Raikou's got special defense, so because of that because there are less special attackers with ground coverage than there are with physical attackers. So you can in a lot of situations, not all, but in a lot of situations, you can switch Raikou in pretty safely in a lot of special attackers, tank the hit, and then return fire with a Z move or some, or get a Calm Mind off on the switch.
And if you look through its move pool, it actually has some form of utility in dual screens, which is kind of unique in the fact that it can be, you can set both screens and volt switch.
And
super unique. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing to consider with Raikou is it's also really good for dealing with bulky waters. And dealing with bulky waters is something you have to have something to deal with bulky waters on your team because you're going to run into them no matter what league you're in. There are a lot of bulky waters at every single tier. You have to have something that can deal with them, and Raikou can deal with a lot of them.
I believe water is like the most populous type in Pokemon. It's like 129 Pokemon.
And the thing is, Raikou can still deal with most of the water ground types because you just pop Hidden Power Grass on it and it OHKOs them.
Yep. Like, Raikou's a good mon. I think a lot of people like Siege in Tier 1 are like kind of turned off by it because it's more often than not a Tier 1 in most leagues.
Yeah.
As the Siege in Tier 1, they're kind of turned off by it, but like when you're because like if you're in Tier 1, if you're looking for a Tier 1 electric, you want Coco.
Right.
That's just kind of what it is.
And soon you'll probably want Zeraora.
Zeraora.
Yeah.
Because Zeraora has a higher speed tier, hits almost as hard as Raikou.
And that's and it can hit on both sides of the street.
Yeah. Which I think makes Zeraora just slightly better than it. And it also has a useful ability sort of like.
Well, that
I think it's.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Raikou is it's outclassed by most like high tier electrics.
Its primary competition for the slot that it fills is
the best mons in the format.
But by that same token, if you have a late pick in a draft,
and like you need an electric type, like Raikou's not a bad option.
No, because like I can tell you, if you're picking late, Zeraora is probably going to be gone.
At this point, it stands right now because of new toy syndrome.
Yeah, well, that and honestly, like. I looked at it on paper, and it first of all, it 1v1s Coco and wins.
Yep.
Most of the time.
Almost every time.
So, and that's important because like it's
unbelievable. And Plasma Fist is just unbelievably good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's the hardest hitting electric type move that's not Volt Tackle.
Right. And it doesn't have recoil, and on top of that, it can effectively heal you if you use it against a predicted return or facade.
Yeah.
Or like echo, or like quick attack, extreme speeds.
Except that does it take effect before you use it?
You use it, and then it has the
Oh yeah,
But
so it wouldn't work.
it has to be
It wouldn't work in
after.
quick attack or extreme speed.
It works
never mind.
priority, but like,
Yeah,
if you're going up against like some with boom burst, like
Oh right, yeah,
you hit like you hit an explode with the plasma fist and boom burst, then heals you, which is super cool.
which is hilarious.
But back to Raikou, I think Raikou's a really good option. Like if you need that electric type and you don't have the point, and like all like a bunch of other ones are gone, like
Yeah,
everything like that. So,
like if your team concept involves having a fast, hard hitting electric type
that likes to be able to use Z moves.
then
Raikou's if Coco and Zeraora are gone,
then
Raikou's a good option.
Right. And like the thing is it has other utilities outside of those things, which maybe gives it a different, you can use it in a different niche if necessary than
I mean
Coco.
I think the problem with Raikou is just Coco's just better.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. And so that I think that pretty much covers it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing to say, I think, is to point out that, I mean, the most successful regular season team last season was Neek's Galesburg team.
Yep.
And that,
I mean, I had the same record, but that's okay.
Yeah, okay. But, like, he won a bunch of awards and stuff, okay?
Okay, fine. I won the title.
Yeah, that's true. But, like, I mean, he had a solid team, right? Like,
you can do a lot with
agree on that.
Yeah,
like,
we can do a lot with like mons that are kind of unsuspecting. Like
exactly. And that's the thing, is that Raikou was one of his central pivots, and he really, really used that thing to good effect. I mean, honestly, I think that was probably an all-star for his team, if not for the fact that Mega Latios and Mimikyu were just insane,
disgustingly good.
Yeah, I mean that thing was that was the, he used it like a Gloomon, but it was a Gloomon that just was always a threat as well.
It's a free volt switch, like on most things.
Well, and yeah, maybe that's it.
It's a good like pivot because it's got a nice bulk. It's got a nice bulk like level, and access to volt switch and calm mind. It can be like a hit. It can be kind of sneaky, and like as a tier 1, it's not bad. Like it's not like I wouldn't consider it like one of the worst tier 1s, but I think it's like one of those things like it's way too good for tier 2, but like in tier 1, it's really kind of
glossed
hard.
over.
Yeah, it's really glossed over.
Yeah, it's
All
like
right.
yeah. So that's Raikou. You could pick a worse tier 1 for your team for sure.
Probably, but it's still solid. I think it's solid. As an electric type, it's got it's got a nice speed tier.
You know what I think Raikou is really good for? If your team plans on having multiple tier 1s on it, this is a good option for your second tier 1, because a lot of people overlook it, and it adds a lot of like offensive utility that you really want.
And 115 special attack is not like a joke either. Like it's gonna hit.
It's gonna hit hard, and it's got the special defense, and 90 HP is not bad.
90 HP and 100 SPDF, like.
It's a good bulk combo. It's not super bulk. Like it's still below the threshold of what I would consider bulk, but it is bulky for the fact that it can hit hard and is fast.
Yep.
People are going to throw things at Raikou, like hit Raikou, thinking it'll do more damage than it actually will.
And like as an assault vest user, it's really nice. I'm not just speaking because I got walled by it last season. Like it can be a really solid assault vest user.
All right, well, that covers that. Until next week, good luck in all your matches. Have fun, and the MagneZONE is, in fact, blasting off again.
Again.
Bye.
Again.